Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our Insulation Intel webinar, Johns Manville's U.S. Building Insulation Products. My name is Kim Melton, and I will be the moderator for today's presentation. Before we get started, I did want to talk a little bit about why we put together this webinar. Every year, we get numerous requests for product webinars or webinars that walk everyone through the details about our products. And so that's what this is. And this is a great opportunity for anybody who is a newcomer to the industry, anybody who's looking for specific JM product training, or anybody who's even just trying to get a better idea of the types of building materials that are available to the market. So there are a few more logistics to go over before we get started. First and foremost, we are working remotely. So if there are any disruptions to the presentation or any technical difficulties that are disruptive to the presentation, we'll pause for up to 5 minutes to address those. If we're not able to address those within 5 minutes, we'll cancel today's presentation and either send out a recording of it that you can download and watch at your leisure, or we will send out a new invite depending on where we are in the presentation. Finally, we are also going to conclude today with a Q&A. So you should see a Q&A to the right side of your screen. If you don't see that there in the top right, in the bottom right corner, there are 3 little dots, an ellipsis right there in the corner. If you click on that, it'll open up a dialog box that has Q&A in it, and then you can open the Q&A box to submit your questions by clicking on that Q&A. Also, this webinar is for educational purposes only and should not be used as a substitute for professional engineering design, consultation, or documentation that might be required by building codes, contracts, or applicable laws. If you have any questions about this after the webinar, you can refer to our specific application guidelines and instructions, and those are located in the product sections of our website. Also, we're going to follow today's webinar with a survey, and this is your opportunity to provide us with feedback on how we've done today. You can use the survey to ask any additional questions you might have about the topic of the webinar, or even suggest topics for future webinars. It's also part of how we deliver the JM experience to you. And if you look in the bottom left corner of your screen, you'll see people, passion, perform, and protect. And those are the 4 values that the JM experience is based on. And part of us delivering the JM experience is making sure that we are hearing and responding to your feedback. So if you could fill out this survey after the presentation today, that allows us to do a better job delivering that to you. And then finally, while we don't send out the presentation upon its conclusion, we will send out a recording of the presentation. So once it's live on our website, we will send you an email that you can use to access it directly or share it with your colleagues if you would feel like that would be necessary. So with that, let's get to some introductions.
Thanks, Kim. I'm Eric Dake, Senior Product Manager, and I handle our blowing wool, mineral wool, and polyiso sheathing product lines.
My name is Cassie Tottenhagen, and I am the Spray Foam Product Manager for Johns Manville.
And hello, this is Mandy Schweitzer. I am the Portfolio Manager for Fiberglass bats and rolls and spray foam. And I am going to be kicking off our presentation today. So our agenda today includes a brief discussion around the considerations when selecting the right insulation for a project. Then we'll move into discussing the insulation products JM offers, including key properties and available sizes and our values. Then finally, we'll finish off introducing our remarkable Tech Connect team and the resources they offer. Well, let's get into insulation considerations here. When looking for the right insulation for your product, the primary consideration is often the ability to control heat loss or gain. Insulation's primary role is to help control temperature inside a building. However, depending on the building or region the building is in, you may be interested in other properties like controlling vapor transmission, precipitation, or airflow. Spray foam or polyiso, for example, can be installed to act as a vapor and air barrier. And different facing options on fiberglass will act as a vapor barrier as well. Curtain wall mineral wool can behave as a drainage barrier to protect against precipitation. And then 2 other items considered when determining the right insulation for a project are going to be sound control and fire resistance. As we go through this presentation, you will gain an understanding of how JM's insulation portfolio covers all of these considerations. So first, let's talk about fiberglass. Just some high-level introductory information here on thickness and density, and then wood versus steel framing. We'll start with thickness and density here. You'll see that when we get into the fiberglass product line, you'll see that there are several available options when it comes to R value. R values are designed to meet codes and how that code relates to the building envelope. And to be able to meet the different requirements, R value for insulation is controlled by both thickness and density. So this chart shows how R values are increased by either changing the thickness or the density or both. Most walls are going to be either 2x4, 2x6 construction, and this diagram shows how R values are designed to fit these different constructions. So starting at the changing thickness diagram on the left, you can see that the gray bars for density are basically held constant, and the R value changes due to the changing thickness. If you look at the center group of charts here, you can see that the blue bars for thickness are held constant now at 3.5 inches, but the density is changing to provide the different R values. So in the final example on the left, we just have an example of how changing thickness and density can change for an R value for different applications. This chart is primarily applicable to batt products, but the same methodology can apply to blow-in or loose fill insulation. So then in the next slide, we're going to take a look at wall construction and the widths for insulation products. So as many of you know, wood framing is typically built on 16-inch on center or 24-inch on center for walls, but wood framing and steel framing do require different insulation product design widths. This diagram does a really good job of showing why. With wood framing, the wood decreases the open cavity area to be filled with insulation. Therefore, batt products are manufactured to 15-inch or 23-inch width to accommodate the appropriate 16-inch or 24-inch on-center spacing and will friction fit into that cavity. Steel framing, as you know, is different because it has a C-channel in that stud, and that's where the insulation fits into. So batts used in steel framing are manufactured to fit the full width of the frame spacing at 16 inches or 24 inches. So to quickly recap, thickness and density affect R value, and framing on center spacing affects the width of the product. The combination of all these items leads to a large list of SKU options available, particularly for insulation batt products. So with that basic background info covered, we're now going to get into JM's product portfolio, starting with unfaced fiberglass batts. Fiberglass batts are widely used in the insulation industry due to its ability to effectively and economically manage heat flow. It also provides a great sound control. And what's not mentioned specifically in this slide is its fire resistance. Fiberglass is a non-combustible insulation, making it a great insulation product for fire resistance. And while there are many pre-faced options available that we'll go through for fiberglass batts, particularly for moisture control, it's also acceptable to install a vapor barrier separately. This product can be installed in all construction types, residential and commercial, and we have a wide range of R values to meet climate zone or building application, and typical sizes are available for wood or steel frame studs. We do have a product availability list that has all the R values and sizes of fiberglass batts that JM currently produces. And if you don't see something you're looking for in that list, just reach out and we'll get you in touch with a local sales representative. So unfaced and craft-faced batts are the most widely used products in the industry. Craft facing is also known as paper facing and is an ideal economical vapor barrier facing. But because it is paper, it is it is combustible, so it cannot be left exposed, and it doesn't have an ASTM E84 surface burning rating. And it can only be used in IBC 3, 4, and 5 commercial construction types. And the availability of this product is going to be very similar to unfaced batts. Next, we have this foil-faced product. Foil facer is another available vapor retarder facing for fiberglass batts. Like craft facing, it may not be left exposed and is used in the same IBC construction types as craft-based products, so that's IBC 3, 4, and 5 commercial construction types. The difference from craft facing is its ASTM E84 surface burning characteristic. Foil facing has a flame spread rating of less than 75 and smoke develop rating of less than 150. Next is FSK 25 face. FSK stands for foil scrim craft, and it is also a vapor barrier. The 25 actually relates to the fire performance of this type of facing. And due to its fire rating, it can be left exposed and can be used in all construction types like unfaced fiberglass bat. I'm going through these pretty quickly, so if there are any questions, feel free to ask them at the end. Our next one here is Comfort Therm. So Comfort Therm has a polyethylene encapsulated facing and was designed really for ease of installation. The encapsulated facing provides a barrier between the fiberglass and the installer that limits the itch effect that fiberglass tends to have. I do want to point out that the ends of the bat or rolls are exposed, but the product may be left exposed except in applications where UV exposure is possible. This product is fire rated and can also be used in all construction types. The facing is a vapor barrier, but we do have options for non-vapor barrier facings. Now we have Cavity Shield. This is going to be our latest product offering. It is an unfaced, non-combustible fiberglass bat designed for use in multifamily construction in those concealed spaces between floors. So NFPA 13 is the fire code that allows the use of non-combustible insulations in these concealed spaces. By filling this space with the non-combustible insulations, building owners can eliminate sprinklers in this space and save on material and maintenance costs. Contractors are also able to save time and money when installing this product over blown-in fiberglass insulation. We do have a lot of marketing resources available on Cavity Shield, so for more details, including a time study video, please visit our website, jm.com. And then finally, for this section of fiberglass, we'll talk quickly about our specification compliance. So this is a summary of the fiberglass portfolio products and the specifications they meet. These are typical tests determined by ASTM C665 and our third-party tested underwriters laboratory. Our fire testing shows flame spread at less than 25 and smoke developed at less than 50 for unfaced, Comfort Therm, and Cavity Shield. James fiberglass insulation is formaldehyde-free, and that's evident by our VOC emissions column towards the middle right. And finally, at the very end, as mentioned previously, our fiberglass insulation is non-combustible, and you can see that detailed in the last column there. So to close out this section with the summary, fiberglass insulation is effective at thermal control and sound control. It has great fire resistance and is formaldehyde-free. It is the most widely used thermal insulation due to its versatility and its economic viability. So one last thing I want to briefly cover is our Instashield product line. These products are a semi-rigid roll or rigid board primarily used in curtain wall, metal panel, or acoustical applications like theaters. They are higher density than the fiberglass products previously mentioned, and they come with a variety of facing options such as FSK, black facing, and we also offer a white ASJ facing. These products do have great fire performance characteristics, and board sizes are going to typically be 2 by 4 foot or 4 foot by 8 foot and come in 3 pound or 6 pound density, except for the roll you see on the bottom right there, which is about 1.5 pound density. So that is the fiberglass, bath roll, and board portion of this presentation. And now I will turn it over to Eric Dake to cover some of JAM's other insulation products.
Okay, thank you, Mandy. So we will start out with our blown-in fiberglass. This is very similar to the products that Mandy just covered. Its only main difference is that it does not have the binder or the glue that holds the fibers together to make the nice bats and rolls that you saw in the previous slide. So this is produced in Innisfail, Canada, and in Richmond, Indiana. It is installed using a blowing wool machine. These machines can range in size from a small machine that you would rent from your local Lowe's or Home Depot all the way to a large machine that's mounted on the back of a box truck that would be used for new home construction to do repeated homes throughout the day. And you can see our coverage information on the bottom of the screen here. It's typically used to insulate an attic space. It's typically more efficient to use blowing wool than a bat or a roll product. So you have an operator, one in the attic holding the end of the hose, the other at the machine loading the material, And that's typically, like I said, in an attic, but it can also be used in a wall cavity in a net and blow application where you put up a netting. You can blow into a vertical wall as well. Loose fill fiberglass's main competitor would be cellulose most typically. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of the advantages of fiberglass over cellulose. Fiberglass is significantly more lightweight than cellulose is once it's installed. Perhaps one of the biggest advantages is that you get a lot more coverage per bag in our Climate Pro or Attic Protector products than you do in cellulose. Climate Pro expands much more than cellulose does, so we're able to get a lot more square footage in every bag. And in addition, cellulose, since it is made out of a paper, it needs to be treated with various chemicals so that it can pass various fire testing, whereas fiberglass is naturally fire resistant. And while not on the slide, fiberglass typically performs much better when it comes to settling. Cellulose has been known to settle over time, which impacts the installed R value, where fiberglass is much more resistant to that settling dynamic. An additional product that we have in the loose fill category would be our Spider Plus. That is, as you can see in the image here, that's meant to be installed into an open cavity, as you can see there. So this is typically new construction. You see a specialized tip of the hose there. It has a fine mist of water that gets sprayed with the fiberglass to help the interlocking fiber technology that Spider's made with to really fill in that cavity. So you can see there a little bit of a rough install. You would take a scrubber to scrub off the outside of those studs, and then you're left with the image that you see in the upper right, a very nice, clean, finished product that fits around any wires, electrical boxes, things like that. And any excess gets vacuumed back up into the hopper and gets reinstalled, so there's no waste as well. So that's it for the fiberglass products. I just wanted to move now into our mineral wool product line. So what is mineral wool? So fiberglass is molten glass that is fiberized into the shapes and sizes that you just saw in the previous slides. Mineral wool is molten rock that gets fiberized and put into a bat product. So what does that get you? That raises the melting point of the insulation. So when it comes to mineral wool, there's a lot of advertising out there about its sound properties, and mineral wool is an exceptional sound attenuation product. But the fact is that fiberglass typically performs just as well as mineral wool does when it comes to sound. The human ear, when installed properly, cannot tell the difference between a mineral wool or a fiberglass insulation. Mineral wool is very effective thermal performance, but also so does fiberglass. So that leaves us really with fire. Fire is where mineral wool excels, and that's really what it comes down to as to why you would use mineral wool instead of fiberglass. And because of that, mineral wool is most typically going to be used in commercial construction, in your high-rise construction, in your multi-use kinds of facilities, things like that, where fire propagate, you're really trying to limit the fire spread from floor to floor, from room to room, and that's really where mineral wool excels, and it's really the best insulation for that job. And this is produced in our Phoenix City, Alabama plant. That's currently the only facility where we make mineral wool insulation. So like I said, commercial is predominantly the most common use for mineral wool. So SAFB is our most popular of the mineral wool products. This gets installed in commercial construction, in between floors and ceilings, and in between interior partition walls in commercial construction. Again, to limit that spread of fire from room to room and from floor to floor in the untimely event of a fire. You can see our various sizes available here. Most commonly, your 24 and 16-inch widths, and as with all of these products, there are special sizes available upon request. The biggest advantage we have with our SAFB versus the competition is our compression packaging. So that enables us to get more product in a truck, which gets more product per square foot of warehouse space. It results in fewer trips to the job and much less waste when it comes to the poly bags on the job site as well. So on this next slide here, it articulates some of the advantages. As you can see here, I won't go through each of these SKUs, but you can see some sizable differences between Johns Manville and the competition when it comes to how much we are able to get in each truck of material. So this is a significant advantage that JM has to offer with our SAFB. We also have our curtain wall products. This would be installed in curtain wall spandrel systems, so on the exterior of the building. This is where you get some more custom size requests. This is typically at the mercy of architects who have different designs for those panel systems on the outside of the building. So this is where you get a lot of customization requests. This product is available in the foil-faced and unfaced as well, as you can see in that picture. Window wall is another niche offering that we have. It's a slightly different density. I failed to mention curtain wall comes in both a 4-pound and 8-pound nominal density. Window wall is a 3.5-pound density. It's a specific type of application, but it's also on the exterior of the building, as is our safing. So safing is sold in a 24 by 48 inch bat, but it is cut into strips. You can see on the image on the right, that yellow piece is safing that is cut into a strip. What that image is showing you, that semicircle to the right, is the end of typically a cement floor, and to the left of that image is your exterior cladding or your curtain wall system, and the safing gets stuffed into that gap in between those two things, again, to stop the spread of flame from floor to floor in the event of a fire. Cladstone is also an exterior product that's going on the outside of your building. So Cladstone is very similar to the other products you just saw, except it has additional water repellent properties to it. Cladstone is available in a 4.5-pound density. We have our Cladstone 60, 80, and 110 as well. So various different densities depending on your application. The Cladstone 45 is the most popular, likely because it's the cheapest, but in certain applications you can sometimes require that additional rigidity or that additional density, depending on how that cladding system is being installed. And again, all your different widths and thicknesses are available on the screen there as well. And specification compliance, I'm not going to spend much time on here. I would direct you to jm.com for more information here. But we have all of the relevant testing and specifications that you would need to install mineral wool to meet your needs. And then we also have residential. So while commercial dominates the mineral wool world, it certainly is used in residential applications as well. One of our main products here would be our Temp control product line. This is where R value would be important. So we have our R15, R23, and R30 offerings. So this is going to be installed on the outside walls of typically a residential building. So instead of fiberglass, where it's mostly used for those types of applications, sometimes folks will use Temp control for that application as well if you want that additional fire safety. And Sound and Fire Block is our residential version, if you will, of our SAFB product. So this is going in between interior partition walls and in between your floors and ceilings of a residential construction. And again, specification compliance, we have all of the relevant testing that you would need. And so lastly, in my piece, I will cover our polyiso board insulation. So polyiso is the highest R value in any rigid board that we have to offer. You can see there our polyiso is at 6 R per inch. There's other foams that come in less than that. So a very thermally efficient product, can also act as a water and air barrier when properly installed, which I'll cover in a minute. And the big thing with polyiso is that this is really meant to provide continuous insulation to combat thermal bridging. I won't go into continuous insulation in much detail in this presentation, but I would direct you to jm.com, where you will see a copy of this presentation in a few days. We also have one specifically on continuous insulation. So if you're curious about continuous insulation, I would encourage you to go check that out. Very briefly, what continuous insulation is, it's essentially an envelope around the outside of your building that covers the entire wall with insulation. Thermal bridging is when you lose hot or cold air through that stud material, so typically wood or steel stud. Those are not very good insulators, so you can put insulation in those cavities, but you're still going to be losing energy through those studs. Continuous insulation, by wrapping that around your building, helps combat that dynamic. So Johns Manville has a patented polyiso wall offering, where the polyiso can act as both an air and water barrier. And to get that, you really just need to address the seams and penetrations with our tape. If you tape the seams and penetrations of our AP foil, that would allow you to eliminate, if you wanted to, your independent air and water resistant barrier. So think of your Tyvek, things of that nature. So when properly installed with our tape, you can eliminate that entire step in the process. So just a few characteristics of our AP foil here, maybe left exposed for up to 60 days. We do offer all the various tapes and fasteners that you would need, Energy Star certified. The most common product that we have in the polyiso arena is our AP foil. This is our continuous insulation. It has that foil facing that you can see in the diagram off to the right, available in thicknesses from a 1/2 inch all the way up to 4.5, lengths up to from between 8 and 10 feet if needed. And this, again, would go on the outside of your building as continuous insulation. Our other offering is our CI Max product. This is meant to be left exposed on the interior of a building. Most typically, this would be in a residential basement or in a large warehouse or a parking garage, that kind of thing. So you can kind of tell in the image to the right, both our silver and our white offerings offer a sort of a textured face on there that's meant to give you a really clean and nice look and left exposed. And we also have our tapes that match those finishes as well, so you're left with a very clean look that's meant to be left exposed. And again, just like with our mineral, we have all the appropriate testing that you would need. And again, I think going to jm.com is your best bet to make sure that we are meeting your needs. So with that, I will be passing it over to Cassie to talk about spray foam.
Thank you, Eric. Next, I'm going to talk about our Corbon spray foam product line. There are many advantages to using spray foam to insulate your building. Closed-cell spray foam products offer the highest R value per inch, at R7 per inch, to provide superior thermal energy efficiency. The high R value comes from a blowing agent that is trapped between every single cell of the foam, preventing the flow of thermal energy through the material. When spray foam is applied, it can expand from 25 to 40 times its liquid volume into the finished product, depending on if you are using an open or closed cell product. Because this expansion happens directly on the substrate or the wall cavity, the product will get into every single nook and cranny and provide a great air seal. Due to this, both the closed cell and open cell foams can be an air barrier in your application. While closed cell foam does not provide any sound control benefits, our open cell products provide some sound control in your space. One of the largest benefits of spray foam is that it can be applied directly to the roof deck, other attic areas, and it will be both the insulation and the air seal for that space. In the case of closed cell foam, there's a third advantage of also being a vapor barrier when applied at the correct thickness. Due to the air tightness and high R values, spray foam helps increase the energy efficiency of a building and lower the energy bills. Finally, with the air seal in place, spray foam can also block some insects from entering the building. Next, I want to talk about the differences between open cell and closed cell products. Imagine that you are washing your dishes by hand in your sink, and you have a pile of soap studs in front of you. The closed cell product, imagine that those soap studs full of a blowing agent. That's going to be your closed cell product. Each one of those bubbles is going to have the blowing agent trapped inside. Next, I want you to imagine that I popped all of those bubbles, but every single place that a bubble was touching, I left a structure in place behind. That is what an open cell product looks like. There is foam that is the substrate between each of the foam cells that helps provide the structure of the foam. This would be similar to an open cell where the blowing agent products are actually made of carbon dioxide. And the reason that open cell foam could not be a vapor barrier is because each one of those cells is open. Closed cell foam can be a vapor barrier because the closed cell nature of each cell prevents the flow of moisture through the product. The physical performance of each product, open cell and closed cell, is different due to these structural differences that I just described. Opencell foam has a much lower density. It's close to 0.5 pound per cubic foot, compared to closed cell, which is closer to 2 pounds per cubic foot. Opencell has some sound dampening properties, and it can be an air barrier. Opencell does have a lower R value than closed cell at R 3.8 per inch, and it cannot be used as a moisture barrier. On the other hand, closed cell uses a physical blowing agent with a high R value per inch, R 7 per inch, and is an air and vapor barrier. Additionally, because closed cell foam is very rigid and very strong, it can add to the structural integrity of a building. Next, the biggest difference between open cell and closed cell foam is typically where it's installed. As a general rule of thumb, you'll find that open cell is used in more of the southern regions of our country, of the United States, and closed cell foam is typically used in the north. While you can use any product, open or closed cell, across the United States, the reason for this difference is the temperature swings experienced in each region. To achieve a comfortable living environment in a home, typically you want the indoor temperature around 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's take Texas, for example. In the most extreme temperatures in the summer, your outside temperature might get to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. This is about a 35 difference between what you want the comfortable indoor temperature and the extreme outdoor temperature. An open cell product would be enough to provide that R value to meet that gap. Now let's take another extreme. In Minnesota, for example, the winter temperatures can get as low as 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, negative 15 compared to 75, that's a 90-degree Fahrenheit temperature difference that needs to be covered in order to keep the internal home temperature consistent and comfortable. The high R value of closed cell products will help achieve this thermal resistance in order to meet the extreme temperature gradient between the inside and outside of a building. Additionally, closed cell is also used in coastal areas due to the structural and flood properties of the product, and in any area where a vapor barrier is required. There are many different residential applications for spray foam. It can be used in attic spaces, many different interior locations such as ceilings, walls, lights, the sill plate, and staggered studs. Finally, spray foam can also be used in the basement of a residential building in the crawl spaces around plumbing and in the exterior of the foundation. There are many advantages of using spray foam in a residential application, such as being a thermal barrier, an ignition barrier, and it can be used as continuous insulation. Please check with the local design of your building to ensure that additional coatings are not needed and that you are using the correct spray foam products to meet your needs. The first closed cell product that I want to talk about is our Johns Manville Corebond 3. This is one of our closed cell products that has a high yield, a great sprayability, and a wide application temperature window. Additionally, our Corebond 3 product has the capability to use multiple immediate passes in order to expedite the installation. What this means is that you can spray one pass on top of the other without wait time in between and still have a safe and easy installation. Our closed cell products have high R values at R7 per inch and can be an air barrier at as low as 1 inch of thickness and a vapor barrier as well. All of our closed cell products cannot be installed at more than 4 inches per pass in order to maintain the best physical performance of our material. Johns Manville Corebond 3 has many different fire ratings, including Appendix X approval for applications without an ignition barrier or coatings in attics and crawl spaces. To see more details, please view the technical data sheet at jm.com. And finally, JM offers Corebond 3 in both high and low altitude formulations in order to meet your needs in all areas of the country. Our newest spray foam product to join the portfolio is Johns Manville Corebond 4. We are excited to bring the superior performance of Corebond 3 in order to meet the needs of changing blowing agent requirements around North America. The main difference between Corebond 3 and Corebond 4 is the blowing agent that is trapped inside each one of those cells in the foam. Corebond 4 uses the next generation hydrofluoral olefin, or HFO, blowing agents in order to meet all of the HFC phase-out requirements. The new Corebond 4 has a zero ozone depletion potential, and it also has a low global warming potential. This product can be sold anywhere into the United States in order to meet the changing regulations. Similar to Corebond 3, Corbon 4 also has high yields, excellent sprayability, and a wide application temperature window. And in addition, it has the ability to use that multiple immediate pass installation technique. Our closed cell products have high R values. Similar to Corbon 3, it's an R7 per inch. And for all of the other information on Corbon 4, please view the technical data sheet on jm.com. Next, I want to talk about our Opencell product offerings. Corbon Opencell is JM's low-density foam product. The R value of our Opencell product is R of 3.8 per inch and can be an air barrier when installed to over 3.75 inches. The Opencell product does have an alternate approval for applications without an ignition barrier or coating in an unoccupied and unvented attic and crawl space. Corbon Opencell does not require continuous mixing during installation and has a wide temperature application and processing window. Finally, we have JM Corbon OCX. This is our Opencell foam with Appendix X approval. Very similar to our normal Opencell product, except for it has the added benefit of also passing Appendix X uncoated, which means it can be used in applications without an ignition barrier or coating in attics and crawl spaces. For all of our complete product information, please view jm.com or reach out to me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Next, I'm going to highlight our Goboard products. What is Goboard? Goboard is the latest ultralight, waterproof, and durable tile backer board. It is engineered for durability, yet it's up to 85% lighter than normal cement boards. Goboard is easier to handle and can be cut right where it is installed with a basic utility knife without crumbing or disintegrating. And best of all, it has waterproofing already built in, reducing the installation time and eliminating extra steps since only board joints and fastener locations need to be sealed. The high-strength foam composite board is made of a high-density polyisocyanurate foam core, and it has a coated glass reinforced facer that's specifically designed for tiling applications. This is a patented exclusive JM technology. Next, we have the Goboard shower system. The Goboard point drain shower system is a time-saving, versatile shower system that offers easy-to-do on-site shower pan customization. The shower system accommodates all types of shower areas and offset drain locations. Finally, the Goboard point drain shower system is ultralight and easy to install. All of the items that you need in order to provide tile backing are located in the box that you can buy this with. So please pair the Goboard tile backer board to complete your shower installation. It'll come with a drain, the sealant, and everything you need for a seamless and flawless installation. Finally, I'd like to talk about our Tech Connect resources. In addition to having a wide portfolio of products available from fiberglass to mineral wool to polyiso to spray foam to Goboard, we also have a tech team that's able to answer any and all questions that you may have about our products and our installations. Our tech team is online, on call, and on site 24/7, 365. They are able to provide expert consultation on code compliance, thermal, acoustical, and fire performance guidance, lead and energy efficiency courses, any installation recommendations, all health and safety information associated with our products, technical product assistance, equipment troubleshooting in the case of blowing wool and spray foam, and building science expertise on building envelope questions. Additionally, our Tech Connect team can go on-site to meet with our customers in order to provide on-site training. Across the U.S., we have our tech team and Canada. And our team works together very closely in order to make sure that we're best meeting the needs of our customers and to ensure that if we're experiencing an issue in one part of the country, that it's addressed in all parts of the country. Our tech team uses this collaborative environment to help benefit our customers and provide the best customer experience possible. Finally, I want to highlight the JM specifier services. Our specification assistants will work directly with architects and Johns Manville customers to ensure that JM is the specified for every product in our portfolio. If you need help with spec substitutions, we are more than willing to help with that. We can review and rewrite master specs and provide guide specifications for all JM products. Additionally, we can assist with requests for substitution on current products and actively pursue future projects to provide new opportunities for our customers. Also, we have technical product assistance available. In addition to our tech team, our specifier services team is there to help provide answers to any product-related questions, including how a product will perform within an assembly and solutions for complete system selection. JM has a wide variety of insulation products, and our specifier services team is great at finding the best way to combine them. Additionally, we can participate in, support, and represent JM and its customers at trade shows, conferences, and other industry-related events. And finally, we also provide education and product knowledge presentations, continuing education programs that are eligible for credits from the American Institute of Architects. Finally, I want to highlight our spray foam parts and equipment section. Johns Manville is an authorized distributor of a wide variety of spray foam insulation parts and supplies. We have a variety of different spray foam products. You can get anywhere from a full rig to just a product replacement. Our tech support team is extremely great at helping determine what parts you actually need to replace. Our team is really great at having a customer call and say that they need product A, and after helping them troubleshoot and understanding their issue, it could end up that they actually need product B that will help solve their needs even faster. So the expert guidance on parts and equipment is only just a part of the parts and equipment that we sell. So for a complete list of available parts, please call 406-924-5060, and all of the product information will be available at TechConnect on jm.com. Next, I'm going to pass it back to Kim Melton so she can talk through the additional resources that JM provides.
Thank you so much, Cassie. So we do have additional resources available to you if you're looking for more information on products, more educational information, that sort of thing, and I'll run through those really quickly before we dive into any questions. So first and foremost is the source. This is our online repository where we keep all our educational information, including our recorded webinars. So posted on the source as probably sometime next week, and we'll send you a link to that once it's live. You also have access to our blog, our latest blogs, our product information, relevant documents, helpful tools, and online trainings. You can access the source from the building insulation page of the JM website. We also have JM Smart Binder. This is an app for Androids and iPhones, and basically this gives you access to all of our technical documentation for our products right there on your cell phone. So if you need a data sheet, if you need a safety data sheet, that sort of thing, you can get that right there on the Smart Binder, and you can access it via the app stores available for Androids and smartphones. Finally, as Cassie mentioned, TechConnect. She described that in great detail. You can see here at the bottom of this slide is the phone number. TechConnect is a great resource for anybody who is looking for help on any of our building insulation products. And then finally, certificate of completion. For everybody who attended today, you will get a certificate of completion in your inbox next week, and that will be, you can submit that for professional development hours if you would like to. So finally, let's take it to some questions. I'm going to go ahead and put the TechConnect slide back up if anybody wants to reference that phone number so that you guys can copy it down. But we're going to go ahead and dive into some questions. We had quite a few submitted during the webinar and several submitted ahead of time. So we're going to start with the ones submitted early, and then we'll get into the ones that have been asked today. So with that, Eric, this first question is for you, and that is, we want to install an insulation board over the exterior masonry wall and cover it with metal siding. Which of your insulation boards has the highest R value per inch?
So that would be our AP foil. Our polyiso is a 6R per inch. Our mineral wool and the Instashield are just above 4R per inch. But so AP foil would be your product there.
All right, thank you. Mandy, I'm going to send this next question to you, and that is, actually, sorry, Cassie, I'm going to send this next question to you, and that's, we'd like to get a LEED V4.1 environmental product declaration on each of your spray foam insulations. Is that something you offer?
I'm going to have to take that question offline and follow up. I don't have the answer at this time.
All right, thank you. We'll take a note to follow up with that one. The next question is, do you have any availability in Southeast Alabama of R30 duct insulation? I'm actually going to take this one. So there isn't an R30 duct insulation. There's an R30 fiberglass bat that Mandy discussed in her presentation, and there is we have duct insulation available up to R19, but that is the most robust R value you can get on a duct insulation. So if you have further questions about this, please let us know. We'd be happy to help address that. Mandy, the next question is for you, and that would be, how do you get an R49 in a 12-inch rafter?
So actually, we should probably, I mean, this is going to be more of a Cassie question, because I would say this would probably be more towards a spray foam type product, but if we're talking about an unvented attic type application, we do have some directions online for how to install a bat product in that application. It requires basically strapping the bat to the ceiling and using some venting ports at the top. And so we have an installation guide on how to do that, as well as NAMA has some documentation for that. And NAMA is the North American Insulation Manufacturers Association. And we should probably share their website as well. It's insulationinstitute.com. So they have a lot of great resources there as well, but it's going to basically be spray foam or a fiberglass product that you strap in there.
All right, thank you. Cassie, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I would like to add that you can say spray foam directly to the underside of a roof deck. So to get R49, you can use the multiple immediate pass method in order to do 4 passes of our closed cell spray foam product, and that will allow you to get 7 inches of Corebond, 3 or 4, the closed cell foam, to get R49 directly onto the substrate.
All right, thank you, Cassie. Mandy, I'll start the next question with you, and Eric and Cassie, you can also chime in. So is insulation necessary in hot and humid climates?
A short answer, I would say, is yes. Every climate zone has a recommendation for the minimum insulation requirements. And, you know, as I stated a little bit earlier in the presentation in my portion of it, you know, ultimately you're trying to keep the air in the building at a comfortable temperature, and if it's hot and humid outside, you tend to want your home or building to be cooler. So insulation is going to help keep that regulated and put less demand on any sort of HVAC systems.
Cassie or Eric, would you like to add to that?
I mean, that sums it up.
All right. Sorry about that. I had some muting issues. The next question we have is for you, Eric, and that is actually, I'm sorry, this is for you, Mandy, and that is, do you have any recommendations for fastening and sealing vapor barrier edges when using faced fiberglass bats with steel studs?
So I'll admit I was actually looking on my NAMA install guide, and it is in there on how to fasten a facing to the edge of a steel stud, or stapling that edge to the steel stud. So it's actually not stapling, it's using a duct tape basically to kind of wrap around that stud. There's no real sealing addressed of that. I think, you know, once you're putting drywall up, it's going to help seal that edge as well. So even when we look at wood studs, there's no real sealing required on the face of that stud for wood type framing. You just staple the facing, the flange of the facing to that stud. And then in steel stud, like I said, the NAMA bat install guide has some directions on that, and it's really just using duct tape to kind of wrap around, and I think it says about 6-inch spacing with that.
All right, thank you. Cassie and Mandy, this next question is for you. Cassie, if you want to kick us off, and Mandy, you can bring it up at the end. Are there any new products or methods to insulate existing wall cavities with minimal demo and repair to existing finishes?
One of the biggest rules of spray foam is that you must install to a clean, dry, and sound substrate in order for the foam to adhere properly. So I would need to make sure that the existing finish is a sound substrate. If it's cardboard, it will warp with the installation of it. So if the existing finishes can be considered clean, dry, and sound, then spray foam can go on top of them. But if not, then the finishes will need to be removed.
And this is more along the lines of Eric's product line, but yes, there's something there. So Eric, do you want to talk about your product line?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not, I wouldn't describe it as a new method. I'm not aware of any new methods. I mean, the most typical would be your drill and fill, where you drill a hole either on the interior or the exterior of the wall, put the blowing wool hose in there and fill in that gap if there was any settling, or perhaps it wasn't insulated in the first place. So that sort of retrofit application is certainly the standard. I think there are some foam products that they do use that kind of thing. Nothing that we offer, but your typical drill and fill type of application is still sort of the standard in that application.
And one more comment on the drill and fill and why it won't work for spray foam. As I mentioned, spray foam does expand to 25 to 40 times its liquid volume, and because of that reaction, you can't control the exact amount of foam going into a wall without being able to see it. So you'd likely end up blowing the drywall out of the wall cavity if you accidentally overfilled it, which could end up with a larger problem. So that's why you can't use spray foam, particularly in a drill and fill application.
All right, thank you all. Mandy, the next question is for you, and that is pertaining to Cavity Shield. Are STC and IIC data available for different floor assemblies?
Yes, there are. So, Kim, if you don't mind, I'm going to tag this on to the second question that I've seen below that, which is also Cavity Shield related, which talks about the differences between Cavity Shield fiberglass and unfaced fiberglass bats. So there's really no difference between Cavity Shield fiberglass bats and standard unfaced fiberglass bats. It's really just marketing, the packaging that's different, and the marketing on the packaging for the Cavity Shield product, really highlighting the NFPA 13 approval with fiberglass bats, non-combustible fiberglass bats. So with that said, going back to the STC question, for different floor assemblies, any sort of approvals or data we have for unfaced fiberglass bats will apply to the Cavity Shield. So anything for fiberglass bats we have is also applicable to Cavity Shield. So yes, right. There's data available, and our tech team can help get that information together for you. So sorry I jumped ahead on you, Kim, there for that other question.
That's all right. Were you also referring to the fiberglass insulation since it's non-combustible? What are the requirements regarding isolation for recessed lighting?
No, but I can answer that one now as well.
Okay, let's start there.
Sorry.
All right.
So again, in the name of that installation guide, they talk about insulating around obstacles, electrical, and then a specific comment in here around recessed fixture enclosures. So it's really determined by the National Electrical Code. Thermal insulation shall not be installed within 3 inches of the recessed fixture enclosure, wiring component, or ballast, and shall not be installed above the fixture as to entrap heat and prevent the free circulation of air unless the fixture is otherwise approved for the purpose. So, yes, there's guidelines there, there's requirements there, and that sort of information is also located in the name of that install guide.
All right, excellent. Eric, the next question is for you, and that is, does mineral itch like fiberglass?
So, I would say, I guess maybe to start, I think itchy fiberglass is maybe something that was more prominent in the past. I feel like the fiberization more recently, fiberglass isn't quite as itchy as maybe we all experienced, decades ago. Mineral wool, yeah, I guess this is a little subjective, but mineral wool I would say is itchier than fiberglass. But I've handled mineral wool with a pair of gloves, but with a short sleeve shirt, hasn't really caused me any issues there. I would say in general, mineral wool is going to be a little bit itchier, a little bit harder to deal with. It's a little more brittle, it's more dense. It's trickier to install. You have to be a little bit more precise with your cutting. It's more difficult to split around wires and things like that. So it ends up being a little bit more expensive to install because it takes a little bit more time. So, again, it kind of comes back to the fire component. Why would you put up with those things? It's really when fire is important. So I would say in general, it's maybe a little bit itchier, but certainly nothing that a pair of gloves and a long sleeve shirt wouldn't take care of.
All right, thank you. The next question is also for you, Eric, and that is, what's the primary difference between mineral wool and rock wool?
They're the same. That verbiage is just used interchangeably. Sometimes, our competitors are named very similar to one of those things, right? But rock wool, stone wool, mineral wool, they're all the same thing.
All right, Eric, next question is also for you, and that is, have you heard of insurance companies not allowing the use of Eifs because of fire concerns? I'm guessing because of the insulation?
I guess I'd prefer to stay away from that one. I'm certainly not an expert on Eifs. I certainly don't want to pontificate about fire performance of a cladding kind of system. So I can see what the question is getting at. Typically Eifs is used on a foam type of insulation, but that's above my pay grade.
Fair enough. Cassie, this next question is for you, and that is, why doesn't closed cell foam work for noise control?
Closed cell foam doesn't work for noise control because it is a rigid plastic. So there is no noise control benefits. The sound just reflects off of the closed cell product, whereas Opencell will absorb some of that sound.
All right, thank you. Next question is also for you, Cassie, and that is, can spray foam insulation be used on metal studs?
Yes, spray foam insulation can be used on metal studs. I'd like to refer to my earlier comment, though, that spray foam, as it expands, can warp a substrate. So be sure to check the gauge of the steel thickness and take extra caution to make sure that the metal studs don't warp during installation.
All right. Cassie, I'll start with you on this next one, and then I think Mandy and Eric will both be able to weigh in on it. So everybody listen up. Here's the next question, and that is, what's the current recommendation for attic insulation in new construction, spray foam or batt, vented or non-vented?
Well, I guess I can maybe start with that one. For new construction specifically, I would say very rarely would batts be used in place of blown-in fiberglass. In a new construction, you have all those exposed, it's just wide open, so that's going to be most typically blown in. I would say very, very few new construction applications would be using batts over loose-fill fiberglass. When it comes to spray foam, that would be an upgraded option that Cassie could perhaps speak to a little bit better.
Yes, spray foam is easiest to install in a new application due to not having any of the drywall up yet. With regards to the debate between vented and unvented attics, I think that still remains a debate. I think even Title 24 allows both options with the performance and prescriptive path. So we'd be happy to reach out to our building scientists to talk more in depth on the difference between vented and non-vented attics and what the current recommendations are. I don't think that there's a one-size-fits-all, so it's important to check with your local regulations on what's the recommendation.
All right, thank you. We have time for one more question, so we'll end on this one. And it basically applies to all of you, but is there any insulation design criteria for hot and cold conditions?
I can talk about spray foam with that. So I'm going to take this question and break it into two for spray foam, the design criteria for installation and the design criteria for use. The installation of spray foam, we do test it at low temperatures and at high temperatures. So you can install spray foam within our application windows. And then for hot and cold conditions, we do also test our product for dimensional stability at a variety of temperatures to make sure that it will remain intact and appropriate. So I guess the follow-up question is how hot and how cold. For a typical building environment, our products are definitely designed to meet those needs, but if you're trying to get into a heated or refrigerated space, we might have to talk a little bit more in depth on what the requirements are.
All right, Mandy, Eric, anything you'd like to add to that?
I mean, I just think in general, the code, the various climate zones and the codes typically kind of capture those differences. Typically, the codes are going to require a little bit less in the hotter environments than the colder ones.
Yeah, I would agree. It's really going to be driven by code and what they're doing for, you know, air sealing requirements, things like that as well, too.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for answering the questions today. There were a couple questions we were not able to get to. We have taken notes on those and anything that we need to follow up with so that we can actually reach out to you directly to answer your questions. If you do have any additional questions or you would like someone to contact you, please fill out the survey concluding the webinar, and we'll be able to reach out to you directly. So other than that, thank you all for your time, and we hope you all have a wonderful and safe rest of your week.